the Formula One
Okay,
show.
so we're gonna start off with Verstappen because it's clear that we'll talk about Piastri later. People should be focused on the fact that Norris got his ass whooped again by his teammate. But the talk of the day is Verstappen. So let's get started with right after the race. After the race, the commentator said, "Did you hit Russell on purpose?" Verstappen said, "Does it really matter?" And she said, "Well, we want to know." She said, "I'd rather stick to questions about driving." Then she asked him about the three-stop tire. He said the three-step strategy was good because the tire was not doing well with grip. Then she asked him, to your fans all over the world, do you think you've lost some luster? He said, I don't know. He said, what do you think? She said, I think you have. He said, okay, good. Thank you. Finish. Okay, I'm a fan of Verstappen. Have I lost any level of respect for him? And I will say he hit Russell on purpose. No, I have not lost one bit of respect for him because this is racing. He was wrong. He got his penalty. End of conversation. Leading up to that, there's nobody at fault. I'm not blaming Russell. Russell hit this guy, and his Verstappen's team told him to give the place back. That was a rubbish thing to tell Verstappen to do. He didn't do anything. He didn't gain. In fact, he was pushed off the track by Russell, and then he got back in. Then, leading up to that, he's frustrated because his tires have no grip. Then, to me, he hit this guy on purpose. A lot of people saying that that's the emotional side of him. Yes, it's emotional, but here's the thing: how many people really believe that Verstappen is going to win the drivers' title now after uh, McLaren's results this year? What do you think, Afolabi?
Well, it's obvious that from the moment Lando Norris passed him, just before then, there was a radio message he was complaining about his mechanical grip. From that
Yeah,
moment, he started developing some level of frustration, and it
yeah.
affected his whole race. And then the one-stop strategy uh, was affected by the safety car issue. And then you see the hard tires when they didn't have
Oh
any.
yeah, then he had to go on hard tires because he had no more soft,
Yeah,
no
there
more
was
soft
no
tires.
there was no grip, and it cost him the positions to other drivers that were on softer compounds. So I think from that point on, he was driving with a different mindset. He was upset, he was
Yeah.
frustrated, and I think Red Bull should look at the data on the hard, tires because it dropped off significantly after 20 laps. We know that Barcelona is abrasive, but I didn't expect such degradation at that
No,
level
no, no,
of the race.
no.
So I think they need to
He
look
only
at
had the tires for like less than 10 laps, though.
Kunle, it doesn't matter about less than 10 laps. He was on hard, and everybody else was
Yeah.
on soft. And
And
not
I'm
only
just
that,
saying
yeah.
that it was for less
the
than
tires
10
had
laps.
no
That's what
grip.
I'm saying.
They had no grip, so that's why he was sliding all over the track. Come
So,
on,
Yeah.
so basically, I think
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Red Bull
Yeah.
needs to look at their thermal,
Oh
their
yeah, and,
thermal.
and let's look at the beginning of the race. Verstappen was coming second, and he was closing in on Piastri, but Piastri wasn't worried because he knew that Verstappen was using up his tires. Not that he's a bad driver. He's pushing, he's doing his best. His tires wore out because for the first 7 laps, he was only within a second behind, and he was about 2 seconds ahead of Norris. But it was futile. His tires were gone. And the big question that everybody should be asking is Red Bull did changes to their rear suspension, which showed up in Imola. Their race pace was better, tire deg was better. So the question is, why do they have this sudden drop in tire deg? Now, I did some research. They made some mistakes on the Delta during free practices. The Delta was off by 6 seconds from the information he was given. So they basically were over exaggerated how well he could do in a race. And to me, their settings were too fronty and too hot. It was too much to the front, and he had no stability or grip. Second of all, they came in with brake issues. That's the problem. So that might be the cause. But my question is, how does Red Bull drop that much? I'm not saying conspiracy. This is a mystery. How do they lose so much race pace coming into this week? Verstappen,
Maybe.
Rosberg, before the race, and I'll go to you, Mr. Johnny. Before
Yeah.
the race, Rosberg said he saw Verstappen on the track, and he couldn't believe what he saw in free practice in qualify. He said that Verstappen's front settings are to the point that nobody should be able to even finish a lap without crashing. And he got Q3. What he was saying is that Verstappen said, fuck rear stability altogether because it's not working. And he made the car absolutely fronty. It gave him a Q3. Without that, he would have come Q6 in qualifying. And my argument is that when you have that type of front setting for the race, that's for 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps. It's going to wear off. So Verstappen had to do a suicide mission. He had to make the settings on his car extreme to be fast for 1 lap, but it cost him tire. But the question is, why are they having balance problems? What do you have to say, Mr. Johnny? Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that rather than wondering why
Red Bull are slower, or I mean, kind of like dropping back. I think it's the fact that McLaren were actually faster. They were, as in, they
I'm
were
going to disagree
leaving
with you this.
everybody
I'm
behind.
going to disagree with you this. McLaren is faster, but the thing about Verstappen is when during free practices and stuff, when he says the car has no grip, he's not saying it in relation to another car. He's saying in relation that he can't control the car.
Yeah,
So it's different.
he did complain early that he was losing grip, but
Yeah,
still, I think that, but still
and
that,
also
and then
Red Bull lost pace towards Ferrari and other teams too. So it's not just
yeah,
McLaren. To me, McLaren is just maintaining its advantage that it's always. It hasn't that they've. I don't think they got faster this week. I think what it is McLaren is just good on any track, and they have bound. But I think okay, I'll let you continue because I cut you, but. I think that the real thing is that Red Bull dropped off again this week. I don't think McLaren got faster, but go on here.
yeah. Well, they did drop off because if they had settled for third position, they could have just done a normal thing and then just enjoy that third position. But I think they tried to really do a bit too much,
Yeah,
and
they put too much in the car. They souped it up too much.
they
Yeah.
did too much. Even with the tire strategy, they did too much. I can imagine the guy in charge of the tires, because they didn't have any. All they
But
had
if
was
not for
hard.
that safety car, it might have worked. He would have come third. Yeah.
Yeah, and but the guy that was in charge of the cars and the tires, I'm sure he was praying for no safety car because he knew that then there was no option but hard, and nobody had done any data on the hard tires the whole weekend. There was no data.
I
Nobody
think it was
ran
the
ran it.
safety car messed up their strategy, the tire
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah, but they had no choice but to do three. If they had tried to do two, he would have lost by 20 seconds. I promise you. Because for some reason that car is dropping off. I think it's a lot of things. We
If
have to go back. We have to go back to Miami last year. Red Bull was beating people by 30 seconds. All of a sudden, a drop.
yeah,
So there's, and this is still, we have to go back and figure out where did Red Bull go wrong. It's clear that they were using that asymmetric at some point to hide and cover things up. And now I'm beginning to wonder if Adrian Newey is a fraud, man. What type of bullshit is this? How does the car drop that much? You understand what I'm
it's
saying?
quite amazing actually.
But my
Maybe they
question, my
haven't been an
question,
engineering team. He's been using loopholes and they haven't built the car because this problem continues to persist. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Yeah.
my question is that if Red Bull knew that they were going to have to run a set of ads in the race, they should have used them in the first or
Yeah, but
second
no, they were
change. They
hoping
shouldn't have
they
used.
wouldn't have had to do it if there wasn't a safety car. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so
Yes,
to me,
but I
it
mean,
was a calculated risk. They knew that.
if
It's like me, for example. It's like me. I don't pay taxes. It's like me saying, okay, I know if they call me one day and they find out, I'm going to get caught. But the probability of me getting called for taxes is about 20%. So the Red Bull took a risk that they knew because they had no other choice.
yeah, even if you're going to take that risk with your hard tires, it's better to take it earlier so that there's more of a chance of a safety car coming. Also, because Spain is a track that has
You
a
can't
lot of
think like that. That's
overtaking
negative thinking. To
opportunities.
be honest with you, who
So
would have
there's
thought that
always
there
a
would be
chance of.
who would have thought there would have been one? Then there's another question about why they let that thing go on for 7 laps. Man,
Yeah,
this year
Yeah,
there's a
they
lot of
did
cheating
that.
this year. I'm not
That's
gonna
not
lie.
the first race they've done that nonsense, though. They
Oh
did
yeah,
that.
but no, FIA is a
It's not the
joke.
first time.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Continue, Kunle. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the first time that they've wasted time on those changes. But when I'm coming back to what I was trying to say about the tire changes, yes, I still think that if they knew they had a fresh hard tire, that they should have run it earlier. And I
Yeah.
think that if
Maybe
they had done with so many other things that could have happened during the race, aside
they
from
should have
just
done
the
it for the
yellow
second.
flag,
They should have used it for the
yes,
second stop.
and Verstappen's ability to recover during the race. And because this race was so unpredictable, there were faster cars starting at different parts of the grid. But it seemed, as I had always feared, that McLaren's cars are just far too fast. They're just too far
Oh
ahead of
yeah.
everyone.
Well, let's make it.
Um,
I always say that for race pace, they're fast. Yeah, because
yes, I think
even the first 7 laps is just like in Miami. Verstappen led them for 30 laps, but eventually his
yes.
tires degraded.
And Leclerc's tire management was very good because he actually had two fresh medium tires for the
Now
race. I
watch out
don't know
for
how he
Leclerc because
managed
I
to
think
not.
watch out for Leclerc. There's an outside chance that he could win the championship this year. But I don't think it's going to happen because what's going to happen is McLaren, they're just going to trade first and second. He's going to have to keep trading first and second. But look at this guy. He came second. Leclerc came second last week, and he came third this week. Right now, he's the driver of the year as far as I'm concerned. Him and it's close between him and
Leclerc
Verstappen.
can finish second or third. I don't see him challenging for the
Yeah,
championship.
he won. Right now, the way I look at it, I can only hope that Piastri beats Norris. To be honest with you. Yeah, because I don't like Norris, so I want to see Piastri beat him because it doesn't like Verstappen to do shit this year.
I
Your
think
thoughts,
Norris is going to be ahead of Piastri at the end of the season,
I,
wherever
I
the
hope
McLaren's
you keep saying so because you're bringing in bad luck. And I've looked at the other tracks. Let me tell you something, Kool-Aid. The next 4 tracks are high-speed tracks, and Piastri does better on high-speed tracks than Norris. That's how it's playing out this year. Piastri is a better qualifier than Norris now. And once again, Norris bottled his start today. He let Verstappen by. Yeah.
And Piastri did do very well in qualifying this time around. His qualifying is getting better.
Oh, yeah, he's getting better. Piastri's going
It
to
has
beat him,
improved
but it's
significantly
going to
in
be close.
qualifying.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lorato? Then we'll go back. Then we'll go to the next thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think from what I think we've been saying historically, I think McLaren's platform, it seems to be holding even beyond the flexi wing changes. They still sort of persist in terms of having the best pace, and the best balanced car, regardless of what changes you make. And we know engineering wise, when you make changes, if you lose any kind of performance, it becomes detrimental, which is what I think we're seeing with Red Bull. And also in terms of like the source of the problem, I mean, you could mention Adrian Newey. We could speculate about the asymmetric braking, but one of the other big facts is what lies behind the idea that they've been developing the car around Max's ability, and even Max himself said that Yuki qualifying 20th is like a sign of how bad the car is. I mean, what you say about how Rosberg described his car setup to be like an absolutely off the cuff kind of like setup that no other driver could even dare to try and handle. Um, Also, kind of like shows us where that car is, that the setup has to be so unconventional and so unbalanced for it to make sense. So those are I think are like the overall problems that Red Bull is having. And then I think, I mean, in terms of like the championship as a whole, it looks like we're getting to that point where the mathematics starts to matter in terms of how many races are left, how many more points one could possibly gather. Um, and I had sort of like marked the first 8 races in my own head, judging from last year, to say whoever leads past the first 8 races has the most likelihood mathematical chance of winning, if they've led most of the season. And Piastri he's been consistent. He's had a few bad days. Australia was bad, Monaco was bad, but he seems to be able to have kind of like the mentality to jump back up.
Yeah, but bad days where he's on a podium or coming second.
Yeah, and bad days where he's not too far off. I mean, I think Australia was the worst, where he only walked away with 2 points.
Oh yeah, he did.
But the rest,
And
he's
that could
been
have been
pretty
zero because he reversed out of the grid. That guy's mindset is stronger than Russell's, than Norris's. That's all.
Yeah.
A lot of
He's
people
been
would have given
consistent.
up. He was in the grid, and he reversed after 30 seconds and still got points. Yeah.
And I think this level of consistency is the one thing that wins championships. And I think PSG is showing some level of consistency that says that he might actually take this one.
Yeah, let's look at it. So let's look at the numbers, Mr. Kunle, who believes Norris can win. Piastri leads Norris now 5-2. 5 victories. 5 out of the first 9 races he's won. If you go to the betting sites will tell you, because the betting guys are never wrong. They're going to tell you that Piastri is the favorite to win the title. What do you have to say, Kunle?
Yeah, before I go back to McLaren, I just want to before I forget to say this.
Go ahead.
I just want to say this. I want to give a shout out to Hulkenberg for what he did getting fit. I didn't see that coming.
I don't know how he did it. I didn't see the rest.
So back to McLaren. I think this championship is going to be, it's either going to be Norris or McLaren. Norris looks like the fading star, and Piastri looks like the rising one. But sometimes Norris tries to flip the script and find himself in there. I don't see Russell, Verstappen, or Leclerc being champions this season.
Predict Leclerc is going to come third this year. That's my prediction.
Those are going to be the also runs.
Him or Verstappen will come third.
Yes, what's going to make it? And I'm just expecting. I keep thinking one of these days, McLarens are going to crash into each other because it's going to be between the two of them, and at some point, it's going to.
Let me tell you why they didn't crash into each other. I'll tell you why they didn't crash into each other. Because this guy probably thought about that and was scared and said, "Let me just let Piastri go at the start." I think Norris was thinking about that because if those two, let me tell you something. Everybody, I was expecting there to be a clash. I think Norris was like, "I don't want to crash. I don't want to crash." Norris basically bent over for Piastri because he would rather have Piastri go for it than the two of them crash. That's what I believe. And also, Norris has better race pace than Piastri. To be honest with you, his car is faster. So maybe he felt he could come back. Yeah, go ahead.
Towards the end of the season, I think if they win the constructors early, and it's just a race off to see who's going to win the championship, maybe the last 1 or 2 races of the season, you're going to see some nastiness between those two. I assure you.
I don't know. I don't think Norris is a fighter. I don't think he'll fight. I think he doesn't have a killer instinct. For example, if you gave a knife to Norris and said, "Cut somebody's throat," he couldn't do it. You understand? Even if it was to save his life, he may be squeamish about blood.
I could not do it though.
But I think that if they told you that they would kill you, you might force yourself to do it. You get my point?
I think I think you're calling him a cool-blooded killer.
No, what I'm trying to say is, I was over exaggerating. What I'm trying to say is that Norris, like there are some people like maybe they can fight somebody and somebody's bigger than them. They just can never follow through with the punch. They hesitate.
You say he lacks gumption is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, he lacks gumption. He lacks gumption. He thinks too long before he acts. He's not violent. A violent person strikes without thinking or instinctively. He doesn't have that instinct yet. Go ahead.
If at the end of the season, they are very close together, like anybody, whoever fails, loses, I'm sure it will probably bring out the beast in Norris that he too.
I don't know if he has to be. You know when they say fight or flight? I think what he'll do is like, I never liked F1 anyway. It's no big deal.
It would have built up to that situation.
He panics in big situations, like in Brazil last year in the rain. He made mistakes, false starts when he was against Verstappen this year. And Verstappen, I think that I'm not dissing him. I don't think I think
yes, he's continuing.
No. I call it like I see it. I'm analytical. Have I ever exaggerated anything about Norris? No, I'm analytical. Verstappen lost today.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
No. What I'm trying to say is I never take sides. I said that Verstappen was wrong for hitting George Russell. I don't even like Piastri, but I have to tell the truth. Piastri's cold. Piastri tricked Verstappen and beat him to the corner. I'm just telling the truth about Norris. He's weak. Am I wrong, Kunle? Mm-hmm. Norris is weak.
Well, you have to have some strength to win the championship. I have a feeling he's going to win it.
That's my point. He's not going to win a championship. He's been at that team for 7 years, and he let a rookie come and take his position. He's weak. There for 7 years. And then he started this season, 2025 is my year, but his teammate is mastering him. That's why I say he's weak. He's very weak. Verstappen said, don't even think about sending science to Ferrari, to Red Bull. Verstappen said, I'm not having it. Do you get my point? Norris is like,
I still feel somehow that Norris is going to win this championship.
If he may win it, but if he wins it, it's going to be based off of his skill. And here's the last thing I'll say about Norris before I go back to Johnny. Norris does not have craft. What I mean by he doesn't have craft, he's fast. He has good steering. He has good timing. But he doesn't have racecraft. He doesn't know what to do defensively when he's going against people. So craft, just like, let's say I'm a good writer, but my poems are bad because I don't know structure. Norris doesn't understand the structure of how to win a race. He doesn't know what to do in key situations. Piastri does. Norris is faster than Piastri, but Piastri knows what you do defensively. Russell knows it too. Tactics. Norris has no tactics. Am I wrong, Mr. Johnny?
Oh, well, we're going to find out, Joe.
Let me tell you what Norris is like. He's like Neymar, a very good player, but at the end of the day, they don't have what it takes. Because Norris, how many mistakes have you ever seen? Have you noticed Norris is making a mistake every race? Even when he won last week, he locked out at the start. So I'm saying he doesn't have his act together. He's like a really talented person who hasn't put in the work to put the complete package together.
I want to see a race where Norris and Piastri 1 and 2, where I want to see them race out without anybody stopping them, and then
like within 2 seconds of each other the whole day.
Yeah, and then boom, boom, boom.
Piastri will beat Norris at the start, and also Norris doesn't know how to pass. Remember when he passed Lewis Hamilton and then Lewis Hamilton passed him 2 times, and he just doesn't. To be honest with you, I don't think he's learned. I don't think he has a high IQ for right racing. I just think he has skill. That's my view. What do you think, Mr. Afolabi?
Yeah, well, I think Piastri has a very clear head this year. And for Norris to win the championship, you have to qualify better than Piastri. I mean, the way he's qualifying this year is ridiculously good. If he doesn't outqualify Norris, it's going to just continue that way. Now we're going to Austria. If Red Bull doesn't do something significant about their car, I see Piastri dominating again.
Piastri will run away with this title. And here's one more last thing I have to say. Even if Norris wins qualifying, half of his P1s he will still lose at the start. So he has two problems. He's a bad qualifier and he's a bad starter. You can't be both.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be both. Like Piastri can lose qualifying, but if Piastri's in P2, he can still beat you to the corner half of the time. The problem with Norris has too many problems he has to fix. He has to fix his racecraft, how to pass people. I think he's okay with defensive driving. I don't think his defensive driving is bad. But he has to fix his start. He has too many things, and he didn't work on these things during the offseason. Piastri was not a good starter last year. He worked on it. It's work. And then, did you hear what Norris said? I'll end on this. Norris said 5 weeks ago that I have to stop drinking too much. Oh, you didn't know that before. You're a Formula One driver. And now, at the age of 27, you realize it's time for you to give alcohol. You know what they say? I drink every day. Something you do for your whole lifetime. It's very hard to give it up. And now that he's giving it up, he probably has anxiety because he doesn't have his drug. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have internet. He doesn't have his drug. So he has too many distractions to be able to beat at this high level. It's just like being Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson got beat by Buster Douglas because he wasn't training. So now so my thing is that it's going to take Norris a year or two of doing the right thing before he can actually win. If he wins this year, it's going to be because of talent. It's not going to be because of racecraft or anything else. What do you think, Lorato? Quickly.
Yeah. I think, I mean, he's still there mathematically with a chance.
Oh yeah, he can win. The only argument is that if he wins, it's going to be off of his talent. Yeah.
And but it's basically up to Piastri having a couple of more bad weeks, and that can't be something that you depend on as a driver who's challenging that other driver, you know. And I think that's one thing that we mentioned about Norris's mentality some weeks ago, that he shows his weakness by being self-critical. And I mean, you look at someone like Max today, who did something that is like completely erroneous. It's wrong.
Yeah.
But he's not self-critical with himself. He just dismisses it, you know.
Yeah, that's how you should be. That's
yeah,
how
yeah.
He'd
He'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah.
Even though he is now becoming realistic about the mathematical chances of him winning the championship with the car that he drove today. I think with a different car he'll have a different kind of feeling, because he's a racer. It's in his blood to try and beat the other man to the line. So he will do it if Red Bull can figure out the engineering issues in the next week and sort themselves out.
That hit that he did on Russell, it was like pure revenge. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
I'm saying from the number of races that he's already won, I think he would need to win, I think, about 6 more for him to be mathematically in the running for the championship. And there's still a lot more races to go, so it's a fascinating season to sort of look out for. If
I'm telling you, we need these guys to do a DNF, Piastri and Norris, the two of them together.
Yeah. 1 or 2 DNFs.
Yeah, it's not going to happen with Piastri. Piastri, like, he finished every race last year, only driver to do that. And him coming out of that sandpit to finish Australia tells me how determined he is.
Piastri is smart.
But here's every race.
Yeah, and here's the thing. And Norris is not aggressive enough to force Piastri into where he has to make a decision to crash. So that's the problem. That's why I said that one, Piastri's going to beat them. If they ever start any race, they have to start neck to neck. Piastri will always beat at the start, even if he's in P2. He's going to beat Norris, because Norris doesn't want to crash. But Piastri, not that Piastri doesn't want to crash, but Piastri is smart. He will always stay right at the edge of danger, but he'll never cross it. So that's why I said this guy will succumb. Same thing with Lewis Hamilton. They made Lewis Hamilton give. Let's switch. They made Lewis Hamilton give the place to Leclerc, even though Leclerc was faster. But I've noticed this has been happening a lot. A lot of races, Leclerc is doing well after they tell him to pass. After they tell Lewis Hamilton to give him a place. It's happened several times. It's not a good look at all. What do you think, Mr. Johnny?
Oh man,
when I say it's not a good look, I'm not talking about Lewis Hamilton. I agree. This guy has faster pace, but there's something about telling a 7 world champion, you keep telling this guy to give places. And there was one time he even volunteered to give it. Nah. Go ahead, Mr. Johnny.
Man. I mean, everybody saw it right there. He wasn't moving fast enough. So if you're not moving fast enough, hey man, just take one side.
Yeah. But the funny thing is that if he didn't move, Leclerc wouldn't get these pole positions. So it's like it's just weird. It's psychologically weird to give somebody a place when you're ahead of them.
And it even got worse because Hülkenberg even overtook him at the end. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but Hamilton was a second slower than Leclerc. That's why he had to give up.
Well, yeah, I understand, but I'm saying it's happening a lot lately, though. And my thing is that
his head was down. His body language was negative, even leading up to the race. Hamilton wasn't looking happy. So, I mean, even when he was doing well in qualifiers.
He was like, let's get this shit over so I could go to a Diddy party, man.
Exactly. Hamilton was like, I can't drive this car. The car is undrivable. But what is your partner doing? Partner is in front, far away.
Serious. He's at that age. He's 40. He's thinking about having fun. It's like me at work. I was at work today. I'm just thinking about payday. I don't even care about the kids I'm working with. Fuck that shit. I'm serious, man. I'm serious. His morale is low. This guy is finished. He's finished.
Yeah, he's not enjoying himself. He's not enjoying himself.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mr. Falabi?
Yeah, basically, I feel that the guy needs to improve. If you look at Nico Hülkenberg, he gave him a torrid time too. He actually held him off with brilliant defensive driving. And I dare say, I don't know what Kicksaba, did to their setups this weekend. They managed their tire degradation well. He put a lot of pressure on Hamilton. And the way it is now, back to the Verstappen issue. Red Bull needs to improve this car to fend off the pressure coming from Mercedes, Ferrari, and the other chasing parts, either Williams or once in a while Kicksaba, because they have to maintain closeness to the McLaren cars. If they start getting dragged to the midfield, teams, it's going to be difficult for Verstappen to remain competitive.
Yeah.
Going into Austria, they need to do something quickly. And then this
but this is the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that Red Bull is working in emergency phase since last year. They don't have a concept. They just have to keep on figuring out things to do, re-engineer. And then and that's why I said what was going on during the New Year's. We need to start doing more research on that. This is some bullshit. Go ahead, Mr. Afolabi. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that we're going to Austria now. We're beginning to go to the fast, high-speed tracks. If you look at Red Bull's performance today, they were not very efficient, especially in the DRS zones. I don't know what is responsible for that. And if you look at the way they performed in Imola, it wasn't like that. So they need to do something quickly because it's becoming very difficult. It's only McLaren that has distinguished themselves. There is a likelihood that they will drag Red Bull into the Ferrari, Mercedes, and Williams kind of. And that
the only thing I think in defense of Red Bull is that the Imola track didn't have like turn 10, 11, and 12 on. Turn 10, 11, and 12 on this Spanish Grand Prix track are very slow speed and they wear the tires out. So I think the Red Bull did poorly.
Mustafa, this was supposed to be the race where the flexi wing thing, was supposed to affect McLaren. But look at it. It appears that it's even Red Bull that is suffering from it because
but Red Bull may have even been here.
They have a
remember, like they should have banned the flexi wing at the start of the season rather than saying week 9 because they gave McLaren time to build a stiff wing which can compensate. So there's a lot of shit going on. But my thing is that Red Bull I think they made several mistakes with their brakes and their delta. But in general, the team is not. They are a good engineering team, but they just are. It seems like they're against the ropes every week. Because you won't be surprised to see Verstappen win in Canada, and all of a sudden Red Bull is back. Then they'll fuck up the next week again.
Yeah. That's why I think they're probably going to be good again next time. Yeah. Because I think today something actually happened. in the middle of the race, I heard Verstappen say the ride is broken.
Yeah. Something
happened. So I think there was some kind of malfunction in today. So that
also, do you think that they told Antonelli to crash on purpose to set up all this shit so they can crash?
That kind of thing.
No,
I
no.
suspected that, you know. I mean,
no, Antonelli keeps having these DNFs. No.
I think
Yeah,
they
but
turned it off in the engineers, you know, they just turned it off.
No, because
turned
that's why
something off.
Verstappen lost his position to Russell. And this guy Antonelli keeps having DNFs. What happened today? What was the cause of it now?
Yeah.
Mechanical failure. They said it was some
No. He's had like 3 or 4 mechanical failures this year. No. And Russell always benefits from it, these mechanical failures. No, I don't know what's going on. I'm not making any.
I smell a rat as well. Maybe it was.
I'm serious. All these mechanical failures. No. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny.
The abnormal number of laps it takes to clear before you can go back to racing.
How many has he had now? He's had 4. He's had 4 DNFs, 3 of which are mechanical failure.
And
also,
they've all favored McLaren. They've all seemed to have favored McLaren.
Yeah, these guys work for the same engine producer. I'm not gonna make any accusations, but how did Mercedes become so unreliable? With such a strong engine. It's a big.
As an engine provider, like as an engine supplier, it's
no. This is dodgy.
That you're having engine problems.
It's very dodgy because we know that Mercedes is focused on next year. So these are things questions that we need to look into. We'll know about these type of things 20 years from now. All right, so I think we're just about done. Kunle, any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's been an exciting day of thrills and spills with the Spanish Matador Grand Prix. And we are going to see some
race. I was at work. I said we
are going to see some wunderbar racing at the Austrian Grand Prix. The Red Bull track, fast, lots of overtaking, lots of drama. It's going to be cold a bit. Yeah, so we're going to have some. Yeah, the Mercedes are going to do well as well. Looking forward to Austria, and it's been a great day of racing today. So I'll see all of you next weekend, God willing, hail and hearty, to see what goes on with the saga that is Red Bull and McLaren.
Kunle, what do you think about Kunle? What do you think about PSG?
PSG, the French 5-0 winners. And this is this is what happens. They got rid of that Brazilian chap you were talking about earlier.
No, Mbappe.
Mbappe, and also the Brazilian, the same Brazilian boy. Neymar.
Oh, Neymar. Yeah, Neymar.
They got rid of Mbappe and Neymar, and then they win the championship.
And then they got rid of what's his name too, Messi.
Football, and Messi. Football is a team sport. That's what he said.
That's why they won. That's why they won. Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Individuals and became a team.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll talk about that for football. So we're done for today.
Losing Bruno, Man United may do the same thing with Bruno, but we may not be so successful in our endeavors. I fear. We need to get rid of our owners, but that's a story for another day.
All right, take us out. Thank you, guys. Take us out, Afolabi.
Okay, another brilliant Formula One show. We've been discussing Piastri's brilliant win at Barcelona. From myself, Lerato, Mr. Johnny Mustafa, and Kunle Williams. We'll be back again during the week.
Okay, thanks, man.